Oh my god, you guys haven't met, right? You guys haven't
This is so exciting.
All right, Brittany, that's Shabih, that's Brittany.
Nice to meet you.
It's nice to meet you too.
Because the both of you, I told Shabih, I was like, you two give off the same goddamn energy when you guys are excited.
Ooh, I like that.
I told Maria, I was like, you're gonna need to do the thing where like you just have to like tell me, Shabih, you're doing the thing.
Oh god, this is gonna be so hard.
I'm ready.
This is gonna be
I'm
rough
ready
for you, Maria.
This is gonna be rough because I don't mix friend groups that much.
I was gonna say this is probably the first time that like you've properly mixed friends groups
in a long time. Yeah.
Yeah, because I feel like I've like
Brittany, shut up.
I've met Ashley.
Yeah,
like,
you met.
Stuff. Like I haven't like ever
actually physically sat down with one of my other friends. Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly.
I'm very excited now.
Yeah, it should be fun.
I love you, but I'm excited for the level of uncomfortable that you're gonna feel doing.
I'm already uncomfortable.
All right, welcome everybody to the Be More podcast. I am Brittany.
I'm Maria, and today we have a guest. I'm already laughing. So, okay, Shabih, please introduce yourself. Your name, what you do, and how you know, me, I guess.
Yeah. So my name is Shabih, and currently I am what we call unemployed. Might as well put that. Well, okay, so technically I work in finance, and so I quit my job a couple months ago, and then COVID took over my life. So needless to say, the freelance life has been what I've been doing recently. So on the side, I also run a wedding photography business. And so Britt and I go way back 5 minutes ago. And, and Maria, we've known each other for like, it's been 5, 6, 7, it's been like almost 10 years, but like, because the first time we met was when we were in high school. Oh,
in brief passing.
But literally, right? It was legit passing. It was walking past one another in a hallway.
Yeah. I went to your old high school with another one of our close friends.
Yeah.
And she was picking up her little brother. And I just, like, met you and, like, her little posse of friends from over there.
This is already so interesting.
Brittany, I'll tell you who it is. Like,
so
we went to school with this common friend that we had. And was she picking up someone?
She was picking up Yusuf.
Oh, okay, yeah. So she was picking up her little brother.
Probably might know
then you know who it is. Yes. And we met in passing. I vaguely remember that because I met so many people.
All I remember is like that was the first time I think, because like I went to public school for quite some time, but I remember I think that was the first time I'm just like an outsider is part of like
I know.
Hallway. Like not in like a cliquey sense, but more like everyone just looks like me in the school that we're at. And so I'm like, whoa.
They're like, who's that Asian kid walking around without a hijab on?
And I'm like, I'm here for this. Oh, I was here for it. And then like we didn't actually start like seriously being friends until like what was almost like the end of our sophomore year of college.
Yeah, because we both went to the business school together.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then we had a few classes together.
Exactly.
We almost got kicked out of one class.
Good times.
I blame your now husband for that. It was his fucking fault.
Don't be surprised if he like walks in at some point.
Isn't this great already, Brittany? It's great, isn't it?
I like her so much already. In 5 minutes.
Like, I'm not a fan of formalities. Like I'm not like, how's the weather?
I'm about it.
Like I'm not that kind of person. I'm like, let's get to the therapy stuff.
Yeah.
I'm about it. About it.
So yeah, me and Shabih have gone back since college.
Yeah.
So you went to Rutgers also?
Yeah, I went to the business school, so Maria was doing accounting. Props to her, because those classes I passed with the skin on my teeth.
Well, I can't do finance. It's a whole different world. It's a whole different mindset.
Not that I enjoy it. Like, it's not like one's better than the other, so.
And then Brittany did performing arts, so completely different.
A queen. I think back and I'm just like, what was on my mind? Like, who was it? I was talking to somebody 2 days ago, and I'm like, really, what took me to say yes to finance? Like, that was a never.
You want to unpack that right now on this podcast? Let's go.
That's literally what Maria and I do on every other episode, so we are here for that journey if you want to go there.
The word unpack, I swear. That's like my favorite my favorite concept ever.
Honestly. We're already like 10 minutes in. I don't even know what this episode is going to be about.
We have so many. I have multiple questions. I love how you said that you quit your job and that you were unemployed, but like you're also working like this photography business, right? Like you're building this photography business. And major props to you, because me trying to figure out like how to just do lighting and take a photo of myself that isn't repulsive is just and my childhood best friend actually has a photography business too. So I've been learning things about like lighting and contrasting colors. So, and the fact that you're doing a weddings is just even more.
She's doing Lauren's wedding.
Well, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, now I'm connecting dots to where you said that to Lauren that you were gonna try to bring her on.
Yes.
That's amazing.
Yes.
Weddings are intense. I want to hear. Okay, I'm going really off track already.
I'm ready. No, I'm ready for this.
I want to hear more about. I don't think you're unemployed. I think you're self-employed.
So I'd like to say that, except like, and again, like I'm not one. I'm like also an open book. So I was planning on going back to work.
Okay.
And like, because my luck is just like I always say, like, I trust in God and his plan, but like, he's got a funny sense of humor. And
yeah.
I
the world right now.
This like amazing position in January that like I was obsessed with. And then like 3 weeks ago, they're like, by the way, we're like taking it back because of COVID, because it was an airline company. And this would be the year I accept an airline company.
Look, you couldn't have figured this out, you know?
Yeah.
Maybe it just wasn't the job for you. Maybe that was just.
But I wanted it to be.
I know.
Oh, I've been there. Yeah, I was like, we've all been there. But I totally don't. And I say this, and I'm super biased because I'm totally like a self-employed person. But yeah, I don't see you as like not employed. Plus, like if you've been able to figure out how to survive in the world of finance and like chose to be like, nope, okay, bye. Like the level of skills that you've developed, like whether you find it right now or you find it in the future, you're gonna find such a kick-ass job. And anyway, you're gonna build your photography business to be huge. So who cares?
I hope so. Yeah, like with the finance thing, Maria knows how long it took me to like quit my toxic job.
Yeah.
Before. Like it was like the worst. It was the worst environment I've ever been in my life. And I'm
all work, no life balance.
Yeah, like by all work, it was literally get to work by 9, leave work at midnight.
Dang.
But you would still log back on. I remember one time I was working from their apartment.
Yep.
Like it was during busy season, so I was like, can I just come over for dinner and let me just work there? And this one was just like working. I was like, didn't you just like leave your office like an hour ago?
Yeah, and I did a thing where like I'm like I'll tell my manager like I'm sorry I'm leaving. It's like 6:30. I'm leaving. I have people coming over, and I'm like, but I'll log back on. And you know some managers like no like don't log back on. She was like okay, and I told Maria I was like just sit here. I'm gonna put remember Maria, I put my laptop down and I'm just like, I'm not gonna do anything. I'm not gonna say a word. I'm just gonna let the chat box do its thing.
Yeah.
And you saw how my manager was like sending me messages and she was so vague about the things that she needed. And I finished this whole like, remember I spent an hour
the whole presentation something. Yeah.
I spent an hour on something and then she goes, something feels off. And that was her only comment.
And I hate that. Like, tell me what you want so I don't have to like read your mind and have you be like, that's not what I want. But that's like New York, that's like city finance for you. That's like, you know.
That's like corporate hierarchy right there for you.
Yeah.
Oh, it was horrendous. So yeah, so I left and then I like spent a lot of time just doing like my photography thing for quite some time. Like, but then the weather got cold and no one's doing weddings in the winter time. But I'm like, that's fine. Like I'm working on rebranding my stuff right now and I'm totally shifting my focus of weddings because yes, they are intense. They're a lot. And so I'm totally shifting the majority of my business to be focused on like elopements and intimate weddings rather than
the bigger ones,
the grand weddings. Like they have their own place and I love them too, but I think I would love the bulk of my work to be like an adventure photographer. Like I want to travel and do photos. I want to travel and do weddings. Like I love elopements. And so my goal would be to really focus on that. So yeah, I like your point. Like I'm not necessarily unemployed. I'm probably I'm self-employed with no work right now because of COVID.
Pivot employed. That's what I keep telling myself. I am pivot employed. I pivot and I find a job. I pivot and I find something to do. I pivot and I find something to do. Which
I think I need to like that. I'm like really bad with change and Maria knows I suck with change.
Yeah.
But like the adjustments have been difficult.
Yeah. Always. But you're still doing well. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, I mean, like, I think I spent like a good week or two being mad and angry over like the job. And then afterwards, I'm just like, you know what? Like, I'm just going to go back to my course and work on my course. And like, I just started feeling inspired again. So now I'm just like on the hunt for amazing couples, amazing dresses to do some fake shoots to make my inspiration go up.
And look, at least this happened before Ramadan. So you're not as mad during this time of year. So
yeah, and I'm like, honestly, if I was mad right now, it probably would make the hunger worse.
Yeah. Do you want to explain what Ramadan is for anyone that doesn't know what it is, and maybe in Brittany's knowledge? Because I feel like because I've been your friend for so long that I'm like,
it's stupid how many people like that I work with and that I know who are fasting and are trying to just explain it, and I'm like, I hear you.
It's
different when you live through it, and I live through it adjacently. Like vicariously, I live through this.
Yeah, no, for sure. So Ramadan's essentially a month in which Muslims spend 30 days fasting from sun up to sundown. So it varies on the amount of time of days. Like some places in the world have like a 9-hour fast, while others have like 17 or 18-hour fast, depending on the day. But the whole point of this month is there's a couple of points, but the whole idea is like just humbling yourself, really. So you spend the entire month trying to do as much charity as possible. You try not to get angry. And try to like work through problems and differences. You actually, even before going into Ramadan, what a lot of people do is that they'll reach out to like friends groups and family groups and say like, if I've hurt you at any point, like, please forgive me. And like, you know, let's talk about it if you still feel that there's something that we could have done differently. So that's one of the things that I always try to do, kind of just reach out to people and say, if I've hurt you, let me know. But, you know, I'm asking for, like, I'm saying I'm apologizing. So it's really about like humility, humbleness. And then another huge part of it is there's a lot of people, like, we're blessed at the end of the day. Like, yes, we're hungry and we're still in our safe homes. We still have, like, my husband has like an amazing job. So like, you know, even if I don't have a job, I'm still pretty grateful about that, even with the COVID stuff going on. And I have a warm home, I have a comfortable bed. And at the end of the day, after my fast, I can still break my fast with food. When there's a lot of homeless people, a lot of hungry families, even who are not homeless, who really can't break their fast because they're almost like they don't have any other choice. And so the whole idea is really humbling yourself and realizing that at the end of the day, like, we're just a small speck of dirt on this massive world and planet. And we have, even though it's twofold, right? Like, we're a small speck of dust. So like who we are, like we're not bigger than anything. Like, we're a teeny little organism on the entire planet. But at the same time, like, we can also make an impact. So like what my family and I do is we challenge ourselves to donate to a new charity every day for the 30 days. And there's like all these really great organizations that do this. Ramadan's really a lot about self-control, determination, and a lot of introspection and worship. But like all of our worship is like, you know, you can read the Quran, and fasting and praying is worship, but at the same time treating people with respect and honoring the people who have less than you is also worship. And so those both really go hand in hand during this month.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yes.
And that was fun. Very eloquent in the way that you explained it. So thank you. It gives it, I like a couple of things very specifically, that level of humanness, right? Where you get to connect back to just, because Maria and I talk about that all the time on this show. I feel like it's been like the center of like a huge theme of just
self-awareness.
And having that awareness of yourself and being able to utilize that, right? Like, it's great to have the awareness, but if you're not taking those moments of introspection and like actually taking action towards them, then how are you going to change yourself, right? How are you going to have an impact? But I also like the leveling out, right? Of the ways that you can just be better, right? There's a spiritual concept of it. You have just what you were talking about in the turning around and wanting to say like, oh, I'm asking for your forgiveness.
Yeah.
It's such a foreign concept to many people.
The funny thing to me, because I grew up raised as a Catholic.
Side note, me and Brittany went to like Sunday school together.
Got it. Okay.
On top of going to regular school together.
On top of going to regular school, we went to Sunday school. Brittany was raised as Catholic, but her father's Jewish.
But my father is Jewish. It is. So, but it's, what I love is that when I think about the whole asking for forgiveness, right, and like having to make
reconciliation.
Yeah, and like like having to do that. It's so interesting to me because in the Catholic religion, you don't have that conversation with people. You have that essentially with God.
Yeah.
So, and it's like you ask for God's forgiveness, but you don't ask for the forgiveness of the person. Where like the level of this to me, in the way that I see it, I am so not a religious person, but I love everything you said about Ramadan. I am a very like faithful person, and I believe in that humanness.
Yeah.
So the way that I see it is you're asking for forgiveness from God, but you're not trying to reconcile it with the other person. So I feel like it's just like, it's a very selfish way.
It's a backwards way to ask for forgiveness.
Like it's a way to like go around the actual problem.
Right. And not even that, it's like, you're just looking out for your back when you, like in the afterlife. Like you're not like within this life that we have right now. Like you couldn't care less about the other person. You just want to get to a place in the afterlife.
Yeah.
So like, so like side note, this, when I say that like we should be doing these things, this is not to say everyone's doing these things.
I mean, obviously.
Like this is something like, so in fact, it was funny because my sister and I were having this conversation yesterday where we were talking, just even like in our family, even some of the struggles that we've had, like our family wasn't as tight before. There was like a couple of tragedies involved, and then like we were just really not a family unit, and then now we're totally different. And all of it comes from like our problem with communication, and our culture doesn't teach communication at all, or like relationship management. And we were just discussing that because my sister and I have spent a really, really long, I mean everybody else as well, but like my sister and I are super close, and we've spent so much time shedding the selfish parts of us, even though,
which is good.
Even though we're probably still really selfish, like there's
but like even so
selfish thoughts daily. And
but even so,
like the whole asking for forgiveness, it's not something that everyone does, but like at the end of the day, religion is what? Like religion is like, it's supposed to bring you closer to the idea of being like an ethical human. And regardless of whether you believe in a higher power or not, the idea is like there's literally like the only way to live, or the only way to peacefully live or happily live, is by being ethical. And whether you're ethical to yourself or not, like that's your decision, but like that's the humanness of it. And so when it comes to especially like Ramadan and stuff, or at least the way I perceive it, not just the way I perceive it, something that I read a long time ago and something that I heard growing up is God says that a lot of your worship is to my creation. And the creation is also the plants and the animals. So treating our planet with respect and treating our animals with kindness, because they can't tell you when they're hurting. They can't tell you what's happening.
Right.
So you have to be aware of that. And then also like the silent struggles everyone goes through, like that's worship. Worship isn't necessarily me like sitting with a Quran and reading it. Like, yes, that's
like
worship
going
too,
to church.
but that again, like to your point, that's like an I'm helping me. What am I doing to help anybody else? If I'm not doing that, then like what's really the point of me learning all this discipline if it only helps me and nobody around me? Like there's people who really need your help, and you like fasting just because you're not eating, like what does that really mean? It doesn't mean anything unless you spent that time really realizing like, wow, at the end of the night I can Uber Eats whatever I want. And there's a lot of people who probably just have to like be their own Uber Eats and go to like the trash can near them and see if there's any leftover food. And that's nothing to say about them. It's just we as a community failed them.
Agreed. And you can even say like in like, because I still practice like Catholicism, whatever. When people fast on Fridays, and it's like the hardest, like, and it's just not even fasting. It's literally you can't eat meat, and people are like dying. They're like, oh my God, it's Friday. What am I going to eat? I'm like, this is not a problem compared to people that can't eat. You know, so it's like.
It's definitely a perspective. But I love how you said religion is about getting you like closer to human, like being like your practice,
being ethical,
right? And like Maria, maybe I am like super jaded when it comes to Catholicism, because I am like pretty jaded when it comes to Catholicism
for your own reasons. Yes,
but I wonder if, like, I don't ever remember anybody, whether they were in a position for, like, coming from a religion, like, within, like, a church themselves, or they were very religious, or I don't remember ever hearing anybody say, we practice our religion to be better people. I heard people say we practice religion to be closer to God.
Correct. Or, like, exactly. To get to heaven and be with our godly family. Yes,
is exactly like kind of like emphasizes what you were saying, right? It's a difference in perspective. So I being a person who spent a lot of like previous years of my life being very involved in like religious communities and then being like no religion,
Oh
and the backlash on that. Yeah.
yeah.
Oh my God.
And then like trying to like, and then I still am very spiritual, but like got really deep into like studying spirituality and philosophies and things, and like I'm just kind of like finding my way.
Mm-hmm.
I am starting to see, and that's why I love your perspective on it, I'm starting to see more of what religion can be versus like just kind of what I was told and what was like kind of pressed on me that it should be. Because when I personally look at, you know, I'm very naturalistic. I love to be in nature. I believe in all of those things that you were saying as well. And when I look at those things, I don't see, because of my experiences, like Maria said, like I don't see that as being religious. I see that as being like a spiritual person of faith.
Yeah.
But I like how I can have the ability to merge all of that together.
Mm-hmm.
Things that like my brain has been circling around, like maybe I can be religious, but I have to create the definition of how I'm going to be religious and what religion is going to mean to me.
Yeah.
Instead of going back to those years of we're having other people do kind of
drilling down the steps and the rituals and the whatnot. Well, that's the problem with like organized religion, right? Especially with like Catholicism. I think we've had this conversation before. It's so like go to church on Sundays. It's like, fine, we can do that. But that's the majority of what people do, as opposed to actually not, like, you don't even have to read the Bible, just like knowing the philosophies behind Catholicism and just doing that in your daily life. Like that's also practicing the religion without going to church and going to whatever, you know?
But I can understand where that comes from. Like the constantly, what I would believe the intent would be for that, right? The reason why we should get involved in prayer, the reason why we should like go to church is because you want to stay like tapped into that community. But for me personally, because like, you know, you want that positive input, I'm learning about all that stuff too. But for me personally, when that's not a happy place for you to be, or you feel rejected, or you feel like you're not good enough, like when that community feels like a community of like guilt and overbearing, then you don't want to be involved in it.
Absolutely.
Right? So you're totally, I am with you on that. I think it's just about, I like this. This is going to be like the empowerment of Brittany's dive back into religion.
Dive back into
now my brain's going to be super sitting on this.
No, like I always tell people, like one thing that so there was a time where for me religion was like something I was really resentful of when I was younger because of the way that I was taught it. And it's not to blame anyone, but like my parents were obviously immigrants and they were super terrified. We're in this new land where we don't really know the people. We don't know their cultures and customs. How will our children find their identity, because for them it was multiple things. It was where there's a cultural aspect and a religious aspect, and both of them, while they would like to mix it, like which one takes precedence when you're in a totally new land that doesn't really align with any of the values that you want to have your child grow up with. And not to say that you don't want, like, that they don't have the values, they do, but it's just, I think for immigrant parents it's so difficult to see it because there's just so much
crap going on in this country. Can't imagine trying to
and so I think for them to try to navigate it, like it wasn't necessarily their fault, but part of the religion that I was taught was just a lot, like it just built a lot of resent. And it was even when I went to high school. I mean, I went to public school until high school. And in high school, I went to an Islamic school, which was like never on my radar. First, not whatever the reasons were for that, but it was great because I met all these incredible people, but also it started shaping my perspective of religion. And I always and I think of this example, and like when we look at an imam in a masjid for us, or a priest in a church for you guys, like think for a second, like why do people glorify and honor them so much? It's because they're so godly. But when you look at like the core of what they do, they sacrifice their time, they sacrifice what potential of earning they could make, like financially, they sacrifice like even their own desires to be like to help their community grow and to learn more. They're essentially teachers. Like there's a lot of stuff going on even like with people, like religious figures, but like the core of what they do is like to teach people. And then when you think about like, it's not that they're sitting in church that makes us like love them so much. It's that
they're like a bridge, like a bridge between like God and like you and
and it's like they're doing like they're trying to be human, whereas people glorify them. Like even in Islam, like the one thing, like yes, we have mosques, but like our religion, especially for women, doesn't say you have to go to the mosque to pray or to do anything. Like religion starts first, like we say, religion starts with your intention. So if you're intending to be,
Brittany is floored.
I'm like, I need to go somewhere and learn. I need to, someone to
Just, you know what? Guess what?
Everything that she's
She's
saying,
now part of the group, Shabih. We're
everything.
just gonna adopt Brittany now, and because honestly, whenever Ramadan comes up,
So
or whenever there's
overwhelming.
like, whenever Eid comes up, I feel like I at this point I'm like Muslim. Like I feel like I
Yeah.
know like not a lot of the customs and like, you know, the practices, whatever, but like I get it now. Like I understand it.
But also like you totally understand the values too. Like for us, it's never like, I think that when we try to make religion about like clothing or about like the way someone walks and talks, like it's kind of like religion is, it always starts at home. And we always say like, you don't know someone's level of spirituality, religiosity, morality, or ethics because they don't have to tell you. Like it's all in their heart, it's all in their mind. Like we start with the intention. So if you're intending to be like, I don't know, even if when you start like in like, I'm like, today's my intention, I'm gonna eat pizza. Like if that's your intention, you're gonna start with the thought. It's gonna create a feeling, and then that feeling is gonna create an action. Like that's even what like our therapists tell us. Like my therapist, like your actions are because of your feelings, and your feelings come from your thoughts. So your thoughts drive your actions, and there's a lot of stuff in between. But your thoughts are intention.
Exactly.
And so like that's the whole point. I think as far as like, because there was a time where I was so close to religion, there was a time that I wasn't, and now I've found like a beautiful balance.
Right. That's exactly
of like where I feel about religion, and even just like my own ethics and the boundaries that I've drawn for myself. Like I'm not going to cross this boundary because like I just think that I should be a better person than I was yesterday. Like if I saw like a plastic cup on the sidewalk yesterday and didn't pick it up for whatever reason, like today I should. Like even just something like, it just starts with the thought, it starts with the awareness and the intention. And then like, especially for women, we always say like, you don't have to go to the mosque, you can start at home. Because I mean, religion doesn't exist in a specific building between four walls. It exists.
Some people think they do. And that's, I think, what takes me aback every time I go back to church, because I really don't go to church anymore.
Yeah.
Because just for my own personal reasons, and like I'll go if I need to, but still the majority of people that practice just Christianity in general, I feel like just going to church feels enough for them to be practicing the religion as opposed to taking it outside of church. And I feel like that's the whole that's the issue.
There's like the segregation of faith and practice, or like kind of I just this is blowing my mind.
Is it mind blowing?
Although like I should also caveat and say like also in our religion, like men have to go to Friday prayer. Like you shouldn't miss more than 3 in a row. Like it's also like part of it's also just like the discipline of the practice, and you may not know the reason why, but it's also just to establish better habits as well. And if you're around people that are a better influence around you, hopefully they are, then it in turn like impacts the rest of your day. Like I've literally been in sermons where like I've just kind of in my own world, and all of a sudden someone will say in the sermon something that I'm like, like I kind of wish I heard this before, because now I feel way more inclined to understand
a practice or a reading or
whatever. Like one thing that we say is like smiling is charity. So like smile as many people you can.
So true.
And like my sister and I were talking about it yesterday. I was like, well, people just take like a line, like, you know, the gems of religion or spirituality or faith. They like take the gems and they like stretch it to whatever they want. And I'm like, so our line is like smiling is charity. And I'm like, but has anyone really took for a second and realized like why? It's because smiling is to recognize someone, to acknowledge someone. When you look at them in the eye, you make them feel that they're visible.
Yeah, it's a free gift.
So many people.
It is a free gift. Yeah, it's a free gift.
Gift.
Yeah, that's so. Oh, that's so cute. I love that. Oh God, that's so cute. Yeah, but like when you read stories about people who are like depressed and who like unfortunately commit suicide, a lot of them say like it boils down to them just not being understood or recognized or acknowledged.
Being seen. That's a part of the basic foundations that we have as humans, right? Which can tend to feel really can get easily overlooked, right? We just want to be acknowledged and appreciated and shown some type of love. And you can do all of that by giving a smile to somebody else.
Exactly. So yeah, I'm totally with you. I think like at the end of the day, like what my dad always did, he never prayed, he never fasted, he never did any of the religious things. But the one thing he dedicated his life to doing was teaching people in his free time to help them. And I'm like, at the end of the day, that's the human thing, right? Like helping someone out of a tough situation, like that's human. Talking to someone, that's human. Like that's all human, and that's all a form of appreciation of this creation in the world.
Yeah. That goes back to that goes back to what you were saying about communication, right? Which is just I sit on you with you on all of those things in terms of like the issues with like family and like the just creating struggles and like taking you out of that ability to be a human and like connect to somebody else. But I think the hardest thing for me, and this is so making me face a lot of my things, is that everything that you were talking about, I can feel in the depths of my like gut, like strings being pulled about like experiences that I had where I was like, well, this is why I think like this, because I had this experience and it didn't look like it's just it just goes to show how deeply rooted like the sense of being jaded I am to religion really is. So it's definitely like showing me that I have to address that, especially because I don't want to, and I don't see myself being somebody that would be disconnected from somebody because they are religious, but I don't want my own self, my own self to like stand in the way of that. Because it's something I can respect people who have that. Because I think you're right. I think it takes a lot of diligence. It takes a lot of discipline to actually be able to practice anything consistently. Like you said, being
like even working out,
engaged in
even working out, forget it.
Really,
I was gonna say like I stopped working out, so like I'm just saying this for me first.
There are people who have that, there are fitness people that I've heard say like, oh yeah, like working out every day is my like religious practice. Like that's whatever. Like if you, I think to a certain extent, if you are that well disciplined at something, like it is that form of a religious practice for you. But it really, I agree with you on so many things you've said. I feel you on that. You know, have to, what was taught to you versus your own personal experience for it. That changes everything.
Yeah, I say like I'm born a Muslim, but I've now chosen it, and so I think that's like the thing. We're like,
very powerful.
We're taught something when we're growing up, but really like at the end of the day, it's what you make of it. Like, yeah, there's certain things like you can't contest. Like in every religion, there's a line that says that you shouldn't kill someone else. Like there's some things that you just can't contest.
Right, like that's not, you cannot do that.
You cannot in any way contest it, but there's other things that I think that you just have to take, like even just the concept of like modesty, where like every religion has a concept in some form of modesty, and it's not clothes. And I feel like,
but that's like a tangible thing that people can like hold on to, like, okay, modesty means clothing.
Well, yeah,
like,
and I'm like,
it gives them the
very simple thinking.
Like
they have the power to judge it then. They have the ability to judge it if they can do it.
Correct.
Yeah, and the reality is that modesty starts again with your intention. Like modesty is what? Like shedding ego.
Yeah.
Right?
It's simple as that. It's not
that's
being
what it comes down to. Like you're shedding your ego for something that you think is better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so that's sort of like where, and like, you know, that's how you decide how you want to make of it. Like draw your lines, figure out what makes more sense to you, and then work towards that, because and you would be doing that with anything that you really cared about. Like for me, it's important that I don't, like Maria knows this more than I don't want my words to ever come across the wrong way. And so a lot of what
the amount of times that Shabih is like, did that, like we'll be in a group chat.
Backtrack.
And then she'll text me later, like, did I say that weird? I was like, no, you're fine.
Yeah, and I do that with everybody. And it's so bad because everyone's yelled at me already. And I'm just like, listen, I can't help it.
But you need the validation. Right, yeah.
Yeah, and I'm like, my thing is like, I just need to make sure that my words don't hurt people, because it's never my intention.
Right.
But it's, like, that's where, so I start my modesty and like, my words. Like, if I can, but how do I choose the words that I'm going to say with the awareness?
Well, it depends on the person. It's a whole, there's so many layers. Yeah.
Exactly. And I'm like, that's why I think like religion, and my father was a really good example of it. Like religion really isn't, the core of religion isn't the picking up the book and reading it, the going into the mosque or the church or the synagogue. That's not the core of worship. The core of worship is like understanding the intention that like, everyone's a human and everyone deserves appreciation, and this world is bigger than us, and yet for some reason we also have the impact to help, and ego will always ruin everything.
I feel like that has been the steady thread through every single conversation Marie and I have ever had, ever.
Yeah.
I am right there.
Human.
But I like that. That's such a powerful statement. And it's My strings are getting pulled again.
Oh,
Brittany,
no.
It's
this
so
is why
I
we've
apologize
been
if
putting
the wrong strings are being pulled.
no. Oh no, these are
No,
great.
no, no.
Pull all my strings.
any string that you pull with Brittany is a fucking good string. Like,
Pull my strings.
no boundaries with this one.
Yeah, I have no boundaries, and I love this. I love doing this. But it's so interesting in getting to be at a point in your life where you can actually say, with religion or anything, this is what was given to me, but this is what I'm choosing.
Right, it's so powerful.
Knowing that you have the ability to do that, and I think, and I'm sure, like, because you talking about, right, like being really engaged, being really distant, and then figuring it out yourself. I'm there with you. There's such a level of vulnerability and just discomfort and maybe pain and rejection in that transition moment. And it was what was really a struggle for me. And this, I think, goes just beyond aspects of religion too. Like maybe it's even relevant because it was very relevant for me when I got my master's degree, and everybody was like, "Oh, you're going to go into teaching full time now," and I was like, "Absolutely not. I'm going to go this way."
No, absolutely not.
It happened there too, so that's become a theme of my life. But there's a level of when you get to that point where you have that level of awareness, and you're like, "I get to decide." It feels so empowering and so invigorating, and then.
And scary.
The closest, and very scary. But then when the closest, like that's like you at your center circle, and like the next circle that you have access to totally goes against what you have just realized, like the epiphany that you've had. And then you turn around and you're like there's a fire of circle around me. How do I get through this?
Yeah.
For me, that was the hardest point. Yeah. And I still, like, I had to spend a lot of time, like, figuring out how to put those fires out. And I love that you talked about, like, the power of spoken word, because our words are so powerful. And I totally had to learn how to deal and do all of that, because Maria can tell you, I come off a little rough around the edges.
You mean well.
It doesn't matter though. It's not good enough. My intent was there, but I didn't know how to communicate well, and I get very abrasive, which is, again, things that you learn from the people around you.
Communication is hard because, like, you have to think about the other person and how emotionally intelligent they are.
Exactly. But at the same time, this is where, and we've had conversations about this too, Maria, this is where it's that super weird gray area of having to say, I'm going to take responsibility and ownership of my words. I'm going to try to think before I speak. But then at the same time, even if you do that, you are not responsible or in control of the way somebody reacts or responds to what you're saying. So it's like, and I'm right there with you, like, Shabih, with the, like, I said something and now your feelings are hurt and now I feel bad about it. Yeah. But, like, if I wasn't coming at it, like, whether or not you come out of, like, a place of intent of doing that or not, like, you can't, what are you supposed to do, right? And I've been in so many of those situations where you can just, like, apologize for the way that it came out or the way that somebody took something, but, like, being very clear and upfront and saying, my intent for saying that was this. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Like, if that didn't get
take it or leave it. Like,
if that didn't get communicated well, I'm sorry, but, like, let me talk about where I'm coming from. And that has been a huge perspective, especially within that, like, trying to move out of that circle. There are some conversations that have been had where there's probably, we're talking years now, and there's probably still a fire burning right inside the circle, which is fine, because I can't do it. Like, if I'm trying to tell you my intent and you don't want to hear it, then I can't do it.
That's not your problem. Right. But like, you did what you could.
Right. I found for myself, the big thing is that I have no filter, which can be good and bad, but I've really started to say, or take more of a look at, okay, this is what came out of your mouth, Brittany. What was the reason why you said that? So I try to get really, really clear in, like, and I do this, I practice this. Dan and I have been having I'm also getting married next year. So the more that you were talking about.
That's so exciting.
Wet in a lot of places. Not because of the wedding part. I'm excited for that part, but the whole planning and execution I'm not looking forward to.
Amen. I hated when I was planning my wedding.
Okay.
You were a ball of fucking stress. She was so quiet during her wedding.
I was just crying the whole wedding.
No, see, that's what I don't wanna. And when you said elope, I was just like, that sounds nice.
Well, that's why I always tell people, I'm like, look, that's kind of why I'm pivoting my business. I'm just like, the one thing that I did, and I don't regret it necessarily, but my wedding was really about, like, satisfying a lot of expectations. And there's some people who I'm okay doing that for. Like for my mother, that was really important. Like, you know, she is a single mom. She really sacrificed so much. Like she could have easily have picked up and wanted to go back home to like her mom or her siblings or her family. And she like, you know, held the fort down as a single mom. And I'm like, you know, whatever makes you happy. But I'm just like, but I realized that a few portions of what happened at the wedding was, I think everybody was just so like, they didn't know what to do. So I planned everything. And then I kept rearranging things because people just had different desires. And I realized like it became less about me. It became about me, like the portion of me that cares about everybody else, but it didn't become the portion about me that was like, there's certain things I'm going to have in my wedding that I love more than anything. Like my cake, I had a cupcake cake for my wedding because I love cupcakes. And so like, that was my version of like me doing me, but you know, that was like small bits of me doing me. So I always tell people, I'm like, the reason I'm like shifting over a little bit more to intimate weddings and elopements is because like, at the end of the day, if the couple doesn't feel like themselves on their wedding day, like you're not going to look back at it. You're going to look back at it with like a little bit of like a tinge of resent, and that's going to be really hard to get rid of.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And want to cross the bridges between religion and getting and wedding planning. Oh boy.
Oh God.
I've gotten to, I feel like between family members and friends, you're right. And that is the thing that I keep holding on to at the essence of this. Like, if I'm going to do this, I want to do this because we have people that we want to have there, that we love. Yeah. And there is a level of I understand there is a level of like, you're getting to show your respect to those people. And I'm for that. Like, I want people to be there. And my fiance and I have been together for 10 years. So like, there are there are people that remember I was saying about the communication thing 10 years later, still trying to figure out how to get my words across. It's fine. It's a work in progress. The rest of our lives to figure that out.
Yeah.
But it definitely, that's like the essence and like the struggle that I am not looking forward to going through is because I am so right there with you. Literally, when I started going to therapy, my therapist was like, Brittany, you care about other people before you care about yourself, and you're doing it so much that you're like depleting yourself.
This whole group that was like, that's the first thing that my
therapist or something.
Is that mine too?
we gotta level out on all three of those. But that's what I'm afraid of. I think that's my biggest fear in planning it, and why like eloping seems so nice. But because I already just planning the venue, just breaking down and not having a really small amount of people compared to what we would have, like things that have barely even been actually planned. Like the first choices I've made, people are not happy about it.
Yeah.
I flat out told people, like, they'll ask about the wedding and I'll be like, well, we're having a really small amount of people and like, we love you, but you probably won't get an invitation. Like even me saying that, like, it's going to be hard for me to say that and I have to say it, but like,
look, it's your wedding. If they really cared about you, they would respect your decision.
Regardless of my intent, there's no way I'm saying that without getting somebody unhappy.
No, someone's going to smack you in the face.
So it's like,
and it's not your problem. It's not your
problem.
That's where
they can unpack that shit themselves. Like that's not on you.
Right. And I feel like I don't have my level of like saying whether you're invited or not. If you haven't physically been in the presence of the man that I've been around for the last 10 years and have some level of relationship with him, you shouldn't be getting invited. That's just the way I look at it.
No, you know, it's funny that you say that because the one line, my mother wanted to invite like the president and his dog. Like my mother wanted to invite like every person on this planet, like people that we haven't spoken to in like 7 years. And she's like, they were part of our lives like 10 years ago. And I'm like, 10 years ago, I was like in elementary school. I was like, I don't know where you think like this. Yeah. But I told her, I was like, if they're not my daily drivers, and that's like the word that I use for the people that really make an impact in my life. I'm like, if you're not my daily drivers, then this is like a really, I guess it's also a finance term. So my finance is showing. If you're not my daily drivers, you don't need to come to my wedding. Yeah. Like, I just don't. Yeah. And the thing is, like, my reason could be anything. My reason could be emotional. It could also be financial, by the way. Like, have a little bit of respect. Like, have a little bit of respect for like people's financial statuses. Like, not everybody can afford like $150 a plate for you to just come in at a glorified dinner.
Yeah. That's the I align. That's how I look at it too.
Like I love
party for us.
Like I love. Like, I wouldn't be a wedding photographer if I didn't love weddings. I think they're incredible if you make sure that you're really focusing on what's important to you. If you're focusing on the things, if your wedding is just not even 1% about you, then it's a glorified dinner. Like, that's why I, like, love some of my, I had a 3-day wedding. So
But that's also your culture. Like that's. I mean,
Yeah.
It wasn't me.
I mean, yeah, it's your culture. It's your 3-day.
Well,
Whatever.
that's just wait. It goes for both because it's your culture, and then it's 3 days of you like celebrating you. So it's a win on both ends.
See. I would have. Yes. If I didn't go broke in the process, like that's a different story.
Okay, I understand.
Like my first 2 days of my wedding, I loved. Like I had a day with like just like all the girls, just like dancing and having a good time. And then the second day was like in my mom's backyard, which is where we did the ceremony. And like I loved it. And like people, like I could easily say it was a glorified lunch, but like no, it was perfect because it was everything I wanted.
Yeah, it was nice.
I'm like that's what made it perfect. But when I was sitting at my wedding, I noticed all these people who weren't invited coming through the doors.
Your second day?
Oh, no, the day at the Beckwith, like in New York.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't remember this.
That's because I just had to just shut my eyes because I feel like if I see
this isn't happening.
There's people that we don't talk to, and people who have been like rude to me, or my mom or my family, and I'm like, I just like, you don't need to be here.
Why are you here? Yeah, I literally thought I would have stood up and like leave.
Yeah, and I'm like, so that's like a wedding is a wedding. A wedding is truly a wedding and a celebration if it really encompasses your values.
Yeah.
If it's not at all about you and you're going to leave the wedding feeling drained, then to you it's going to look like it's just like a dinner that you paid a lot of money for. So rather than do that, like have a wedding with the people that you care about, love your food, love your dress, love your makeup, love everything, and then like be happy when you leave it rather than think I wish I did this differently.
What made you want to go into finance, Shabih?
Oh God.
Hell if I know. I don't know. I think like, so when my entire life I wanted to go to med school, and this is like something nobody really, like it's funny because I think a few people, Maria, I don't even know if you know it.
What? That I want to go to med school
initially?
Yeah, I knew that.
Right?
I guess we had a conversation about this.
I remember going, basically when I first applied to all the, like when I was applying in high school to all the colleges, I applied for pre-med. Like I applied saying like pre-med and sciences, and I got into the schools that I like got into, and it was all for pre-med and to do science. And by chance my dad had said like, because at Rutgers let you apply to like 3 of their schools for 3 programs, and I think I applied to SAS for like, I told them pre-med, and then I applied to SEBS for like biomedical or something.
Right.
And then my dad's like, just as a third option, just as a backup plan, in case you think, apply to the business school for finance. And I was just like, Dad, this doesn't make any sense. And he's like, just do it. Like, you don't have a third, like you don't want to do an engineering, you don't want to go to pharmacy, like just was
he in business?
Those were your options.
He was. My dad was, he was more on like this, he did his bachelor's in physics as a challenge to himself, and then he came to the US and then did an MBA in management and finance, and then he also did like multiple certifications, but essentially he was working like in finance and accounting and audit, but transitioned over to like the tech side of it, so like the SAP, the ERP systems.
Your dad was a genius, basically.
He was, which like made me like, which causes the other issue of like, will anything I do ever be enough, right? So
that's a rocket scientist, so
like no, and it's like, so like, wait, well, there's a lot of things that I dive into, but like back to like why I picked finance. I in the end, like when I got all my acceptances, the day, like May 1st, I think is when you accept all your colleges or something.
Something like that, sure, yeah.
That is the day, for some reason, I switched my mind to finance, and I truly don't know if it was like divine intervention or whatever the case was, because it ended up being better off for me that I did do finance, from a financial perspective.
Yeah.
Because my dad passed away in sophomore year of college, and there would be no way to go to med school for me. Yeah. The oldest too. There would be no way to have like gone to school afterwards. So it was great that I like was able to go into finance and get an amazing job immediately, and like save up for my wedding, and like have a really like, just to be keeping myself and my family safe whichever way I can. But I think what I told myself was, I don't want to be in school that long. But also like growing up, I was like relatively sheltered in some ways, and I didn't really have a really big knowledge base as to what different careers were like. I just saw business and finance at home, and I think it was like a really comfortable thing that I'm like, I see it at home, I know what it is. My dad works from home most of the time, he gets to travel all the time as a consultant. Like, right. I think I liked that idea too, and I'm like, I know it's something that I know. Like you don't know what you don't know. We didn't have any doctors in the family. We don't have any doctors in the family that I could talk to, like none of that. And so I think it just became like an easy, quick decision, but I've come to regret it in other ways. And so, but no, finance is like not for the faint of heart. It really isn't.
Yeah.
Like finance is fun in many different industries. Like my sister works at a candy company.
Ooh.
Yeah. In finance, right?
In finance, yeah. So
did she graduate finance major too, or
graduated finance major and a minor in math, and so
that was she minored in something, yeah.
Yeah, so she like has the most amazing company. In fact, like I enjoyed all of my finance experiences until my very last company.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Like I loved what I did. Like I've worked for The Gap, I've worked for CoverGirl. I was the only financial analyst on CoverGirl.
Oh,
like
this is Maja. Sorry.
I love animals. My God, I love animals. I would have a penguin in my house if I could. 100%.
That was the greatest sentence ever.
It's like my dad got me a life-size penguin stuffed animal once.
Just oh my God.
This is why I can't, it's not even a matter of like whether I want to have formality involved in anything that I do. It's just the way that I live, I literally can't. Like I have things all the time on Zoom and randomly you'll see like a furry tail or like one of them will headbutt the light and the light will get knocked over. It's like when you choose to have pets, you literally have to like throw, it's like they're my version of like having a toddler run in the room in a diaper.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, but like I say, for finance, like there's companies that are great. Like when I was working for CoverGirl, it was amazing. It was so fun. I got to meet Maya Musk, which is Elon Musk's mom. I got to meet Aisha Curry. I got to work. I got to see like all of our new like it was a really fun time. It was just when I worked for that company, my life officially became like I had no life afterwards. So
it's a lot.
It was a great company. Like I definitely want to work with them again, but just not in the finance capacity. I would like to work with them in some other capacity because the job was amazing. Like the company was amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just rough. It's just super like the whole aspect of that. There's a lot. It's really, I feel like the finance is like the heavyweight part of any business. Like the finances is always the heaviest part. So it makes sense that it would make the job feel heavier, right? Or like asking of you.
It's just like these like there's just like I think New York is also I think just like my experience has always been in New York, so I think that's also colored my experience a little bit too. Like the beast of New York is just very different from the beast of any other place. If I was to work in finance in New Jersey, it would be
a different
much
experience.
healthier environment.
Yeah, it'd be a different
people
experience.
value family life versus in New York where like there's a concept of like single in the city, right? So when you're single in the city, you don't really have to go back home to someone. And even if you need to go back home to someone, you guys are probably going to go out at nighttime anyways. And you guys are probably both working high stress jobs. And it's just a really weird environment. And I'm just like, the corporate jungle is just horrendous because there's deadlines. And I'm like, and my manager for my very first job, she said it really in like the best way ever. She's like, we're not saving babies. I literally got to the point where I'm like, I didn't find a way out other than quitting my job completely. And like, I'm not the kind of person who gives myself free time usually. Like I've always like gotten jobs that that people have always thought were great. And it is true. Like I've worked really hard. Like none of my jobs
for sure.
I've never had any, like no one's ever referred me. No one's ever, like I've never gotten a job from help with anybody else. Like that's why I'm like self-made. I'm like I've really, but I've sacrificed a lot though in that time. Like I sacrificed time with my family. I sacrificed my relationships. When I was working at my most recent company, I didn't see my husband for 8 months. Like I sacrificed my marriage.
Holy crap.
And it was only when I quit and like 2 months later, I realized like the problems in our marriage were me. Like I thought it was all these other things, but it was me.
It's a hard realization to have for sure.
Oh yeah.
It's the worst because it's the worst. You already know my relationship with Blah. And so
I'm like the third in that marriage,
100%,
honestly.
100%.
Yeah.
And so it's just, like I just don't, I think finance is for the people who probably, like you mentioned something like why choose a career in finance?
Yeah.
Or why stay in it? I think there's like a really big level of like prestige and pride by saying like I work in finance and
I've worked in it for decades. Right.
Yeah. I think that there's like a certain level of like prestige that we put to it. Like it's like when I was in business school, everyone was like, well, I'm working at Deutsche Bank. I'm working at JP Morgan. And other ones I'm working at Morgan Stanley. And I'm just like, I'm not.
Right. Like then you start comparing yourself.
Yeah. And I feel like that's where there are so many people who who I've spoken to and like people that I've met who like have been in that field for a while, right? They went in with and I think this like really nicely connects to what we were talking about before and like the human versus the ego aspects, right? And like how like your ego is not the human part of you. It's the socially imposed part of you that like comes out because of the environments and the experiences we have. But like I've talked to people who have said, you know, like I regret going into this field, right? Whether it's finance or not, like where you're in a situation where your ego takes precedence over like you getting to just be a person and like have more human experiences, whether that is whatever the way that you define family and like whatever it means for you to find like whatever your levels of success are. Like you're getting a social, maybe a socially acceptable level of having success versus actually achieving and discovering what your own personal success would be. So I think, I think I love that you kind of talked about the city. Because that resonates with me. So being a person in like the arts field, being somebody who danced, there was always this level of like, oh well, you're gonna be a dancer, you're gonna go into the city. And for a while I was always super like excited about that. And then I started to get older and I started to go into the city and it just made me, and I have like anxiety issues, majorly like related to my involvement in the dance field is a big contributor to all of that. But I started to get into the city and I started to see that and like the comparisons of like I would hope and I can see maybe like dance being a little maybe closer than like finance and being able to say like I'm taking care of myself and having that awareness to do so. But there is so much ego that still lives within the field, like a lot. And I saw so much of it getting into it in the city. And then I was like, I just walked into it and I was like, I absolutely don't. And I don't think I would have survived, honestly. Having the experiences I had, not having like you said before, like, you know what you know, like what I knew and what I grew up with, like was not going to prepare me to be able to handle that. And I had to figure out something else because I was like, I don't want to be like, I don't want like a negative mental state to be what I am.
Especially not in something that you love. Like that's the worst. And the thing is, like, I love New York City. I think it's a beautiful city, and there's so many places even in New York City that really do focus on like the human behind the job or the human behind the action. Definitely. And I think that it's like, but a lot of people, like, it's also finance from like finance in New York City is just a beast on its own, and it's almost like it's very rare to find like that unicorn of a place where you'll really feel taken care of in the best way. Like, and I'll say this too, with my company that I was at, it was a tech company and it was amazing, but I was the only one, me and my other teammate were the only ones going through it. Like the other finance teams, like the other finance colleagues or whatever you want to call them, like they literally left work at the same time every day, came in at the same time every single day. Like they never had any problems. It was just like my manager was psycho. So that's kind of like the biggest problem. And especially like when there's something, the other thing that I also have to say is finance and business are a lot about money. We're around money so much. And in New York City, their success is slapping you in the face constantly. You see it.
You get devoid of what, like, we're like, sometimes I deal with like millions of dollars. Yeah. And I'm just like, yeah, whatever, couple thousand, like blah, blah. And it's like, it's not like you lose the feeling of like what you're actually doing.
Like in New York, like in New York, I even just like if I sit with somebody and I see like, I don't want to spend like $20 on a salad that I can spend $20 on, like make my own for like a week.
Right. Like you literally lose the feeling of like what money is sometimes.
Then you start realizing, oh, like to satisfy this like desire of mine, I need more. And there's nothing wrong with like if there's a desire that you have that costs, you just find the balance and that you want to spend money on, right? But and I don't think there's any problem with that at all. My thing is, in New York City, it's like, first of all, even with like what I say about my job in finance is like, I know the jumps that I can make in salary. Like it's not little jumps. I can ask for
catapult yourself. Yeah. You can catapult yourself like up.
Yeah, like I can I don't have to make like a $1,000 increase when I switch jobs. I can make a $7,000, $8,000, $10,000 increase depending on the company that I'm going into. Yeah. And if I market myself well, or if I learn like one more technical skill,
tech thing,
that's it. And then I can just catapult myself and I can ask for a much higher salary, or I can ask for a better position. And And it's not to say, and at least with me, like, it's not to say that I, like, there's a lot of jobs that I never should have gotten. I don't deserve them. I think I just lied really well in the interview.
Stop it.
But I think my BS skills were just like on point, and I'm like, oh crap.
Stop
Oh
it.
no.
No, they believe me. Stop it.
More work. They're gonna find out that I'm an imposter.
Stop it.
But like that's the other thing. Like at least with me, it's like I'm not a lavish person. Like I don't know, like I don't care about brands. I don't, even though I worked for a company, like I don't care about brands. I don't care about things.
Yeah.
I really don't. I really care about, this can sound so stupid, but like I just care about how people feel and how I feel. And if I feel happy, then that's it. But
That's not stupid at all.
No.
like I'm a
you are.
maximized to the core. Like that's my job. Like literally, I'm like I'm just not a pretend. I don't care about these like lavish, luxurious things. I just care about like my family, my friends, and like happy experiences and like special experiences.
Yeah.
But like with it's so difficult that when you can see what your next paycheck can look like, to tell yourself I'm willing to take a big drop in it.
Yeah.
To something else.
Well, yeah, and that's not like that's the way our society runs, right?
Yeah.
We like the equivalent of your value is your salary. Like that is very much the way
That sucks.
our society runs.
Horrendous.
And it's like right. And if that has caused tons of issues for me, because like there are lists and lists of things that like I just signed up to get involved in like a medical like thing, like a research thing where like I'm probably not going to get paid for like the work that I'm going to do for it. Like I don't care. And like the girl who asked me about it, like I knew her from college. It's not really medical, it's for her doctorate. But she asked me to do it. She's like, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to pay you. And I was like, I don't care. I was like, you told me what we're like, the heart of why we're doing this is gonna help people. Like I'm on. Like that's enough. So like at the end of the day, like it just doesn't, it's so stupid, right? Like if somebody could look at like, if we could have like an ethical like CV, like look at my ethical CV, like look at all these
your ethical resume.
Look at how many times I've smiled and shared my gifts with people today, right?
If society was like that, that
is what we should value. And I think that
also goes back to your religion. Like that also goes back to just being an ethical person. Like,
and it's like
a moral, ethical human.
Yeah.
Right. I am so there with you though. Like I have that desire where I know what my time is worth, right? Like where you should be able to say that for yourself and have
absolutely
be able to stand for that for yourself, because we do need like, because of we have to work within the system that's already existing, we need money to have the ability to say like, I want the freedom to have the choice to be with my family, to be with my cat, to be with my whatever I want to do. Like you need money to do that. Like that's just the way our world is. So it's not, it does, it feels like you're being like almost unjust to yourself to say like, oh, like I have to think about what my time is worth, but that's just the part, we have to do that.
Yeah,
I think you're right. Like your personal CV, like your personal experiences and your personal resume, your ethical resume is definitely more valuable for, as a person. And that's a beautiful thing to be able to balance those two things, but it's complicated.
Yeah. Yeah, no, with the money thing, like I totally agree with you. I think it's all about like, there's certain things that we need, and there's also like, there's things that we want, and it's okay to like want things. It's okay to like things like, I think like I spent a lot of money on flats recently, like ballet, like the shoes, right? And it's like, that's something that I like valued. I valued spending like $120 on Rothy's flats, but
like that's you. That you also,
and I'm like, there's
like as a human, you have wants. Like there's
and I think
nothing against that.
And you have to fulfill them. Like even like and your wants kind of sometimes certain wants lead up to your needs as just like who you are as a person. Like I'm the kind of person that like, if I'm cooking, I don't enjoy like making new food every single day. So like I don't cook every day. So like my need or my want is I'm gonna order out. Right? But it like ladders up into my need where I'm like, if I'm gonna feel frustrated cooking, like it'll really frustrate me, I'm not gonna be able to be present for my other relationships, like for myself or for my family or for my friends. And that's something that I need to draw the line at. So like, yeah, I think develop like a baseline of like, what's the minimum that you need to be like to survive, and then like add what you need for your wants. And if and just and visualize that for yourself and work towards it, because it's possible. But like what it's like, you don't want to sell yourself out because of money, which 100% I've done before, where like even my last job, like it was my dream company for 5 years, and somehow they reached out to me and I got the job, and I said yes to them despite what I should have done, which was stay at the company I was at because it was amazing.
But you thought that was your dream job. Like, here's the thing. Like,
so I thought, like, first of all, it was my dream company. It was it was a dream position. It was amazing. But then I realized, like, well, part of the problem with finance is when they pay you more money, you got to do more work, and you can't really take a step back, and you can't really, like, the divide between, like, I've had a manager tell me she would go on a vacation like 2 times a year, and she would work throughout the entire vacation. Her laptop would be open.
Oh,
and I'd be like,
that makes me cringe.
Oh yeah, no, and you know what's funny? Like, the VP yelled at her. No, the VP literally came and he's like, tell her to stop working. And he's like, I'm going to tell her to stop working. He yelled at her. She still worked. And then when she came back from her vacation, I was like, I don't know why why don't you just, like, enjoy your vacation? She was like, not to sound all hotty or whatever, but she's like, I make a lot of money and they pay me the big bucks for a reason. And I'm like, but there's paid time off.
They also give you the vacation.
Like, why does that have to be an equivalent?
Right.
Right. You're not getting paid to sell your life to somebody else. Like that bothers me, because it becomes they're not paying for your life. They're paying for your abilities and what you can do. And that does not mean, like, it's not an even exchange. Because at the end of the freaking day, like, they can still turn around and be like, well, you don't have a job now, regardless. So
you're out.
You're a pawn.
Yeah, it's a pawn to this whole
thing. The hardest part of that too for me is, like, I know so many people, which is, like, just a tragedy. I know so many people where that's been the situation, or, like, they're living that life right now, like our age, and, like, 5 years from now they drop dead from a heart attack, or they, like, die in their sleep from, like, an aneurysm, because they don't realize the level of stress they're constantly putting themselves under. And it's like, we could die for any reason at any point.
Yeah.
It's like when stress has such a
big part of your life,
a drastic impact on your body. And the hardest thing about it, which is why, like, I do so much of what I do with just trying to help people build their awareness of physically understanding themselves, is, like, you don't see, you cannot physically see so many of the things that are a direct impact of the way you're living your daily life and how that's building up in your body. And, like, when you don't have that awareness of yourself, or where you're getting pulled out of your physical presence, you're not going to see it coming, because you're not aware of the signs of it. Like, I hate to say this, but, like, you don't go from being a perfectly healthy person to, like, dying of a heart attack.
Yeah, right.
Like, it doesn't, your body doesn't work like that. Like, unless maybe, like, you're literally scared out of your mind, but like, your body doesn't, there's factors that are compounding, and something is leading up to that happening, that's happening inside your body, and we're not able to see in there. So if you have that level of awareness, then you're putting yourself at risk.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like
throwback to when my neck stopped working because of stress. Remember that?
Yeah. Is that the first time you went to a chiropractor?
Oh my God. I, like, woke up, I started going to a chiropractor for a while, and she, like, was incredible. She helped me so much, but then I had a really stressful couple of weeks again. And then I woke up one day, I was walking back from work, and all of a sudden I felt like, I'm just walking. Like, I went to work in New York, like, I work in New York, like, I'm walking all the time. I know how to walk. There's no, like, wrong way I'm walking.
Right.
But I'm just walking, and all of a sudden I, like, feel in the back of my, like, right here, I'm like, felt like something started, like pulled, but really, really, like, it didn't feel like anything big. It was just, like, a teeny little feeling, but it was, like, honestly, maybe it's just, like, I had a really stressful day and I was, like, hunched over. Maybe it was that.
Yeah.
The next morning I wake up and I can't move my neck, and I can't get up out of bed myself. And my husband literally has to, like, lift me up, and I'm still, my psycho
Party is cringing.
I'm imagining, I'm like, she's detailing what's happening, and I'm seeing it happen, like, in her body, and I'm just like
my psycho self started getting ready for work, and my neck's not working. Like, I can't, like, I'm, like, moving like this. I can't lift my arm higher than this, because what happened overnight was whatever got pulled or whatever it happened, it now is, like, yanking at me hard, and now I can't move. And even breathing hurt so much. And I, like, messaged my manager, and again, my psycho self was, I'll just work from home. And, like, it was just,
that's
like,
corporate America for you.
And my husband was just like, you have to stop. He's like, this is it. Like, just tell her that you're not coming in. And I'm like, I've never taken a sick day.
Again, this is
New York. That day, I've never taken a sick day.
This is New York feeding into,
I've never
like,
taken
money talk, and, like, it's all this shit.
Yeah.
And so then my manager was just like, for, like, one time she was trying to be human. She was like, just take the day off. And I went to the emergency room, and they're like, they were just like, I mean, they're not really
Pretty.
I don't know.
I'm so interested to hear how
like,
the emergency room responded to this.
it was a Med Express, not an emergency, like a Med Express or whatever.
Okay.
And they were
that
like,
could be more forgiving.
and they were like, were you walking a certain way? Was it a workout? And I'm like, do I look like I work out? I was like,
Stop it.
I was like, absolutely not. I was like, I was walking. Like, there was nothing that was different about my day. I was wearing my walking shoes too. Like, I was doing everything right. Yeah. And something happened. And then they had to give me a muscle relaxer, which I did not want, but they gave it to me. And I finally started feeling a little bit better. And I got like a quick appointment with my chiropractor, because I'm like, where else am I going to go right now? All I knew is that my chiropractor made me feel better. And the first question she asked was, has it been really stressful at work recently? And she's like, the stress kind of like did something to your body where, first of all, I had all this scar tissue like in my shoulders and upper back area. And I'm like, I just sit.
But this isn't.
And then she's like, you dislocated a rib.
Oh, that's what I was going to ask you.
Yeah, she's like, you dislocated a rib. And I'm just like, doing what? I've not so much as like dislocated a fingernail. Like, what did I how?
Makes me so. This is why I do what I do.
Here we go.
It goes back to and I have so much, like, my heart goes out to you because.
Wait, what was your question going to be? I'm so excited to hear where your mind was going.
Well, because I was going to ask you if you got like a diagnosis about what they thought you did.
Okay.
Like what you were telling about, like the pains and stuff. Yeah. My mind was starting to
connect the dots.
Yeah. Because I'm such a body, like a physical body, like person, like me, like being connected with my body is like a definitely like a way that I identify myself. Like that's a part of me. And I have like this massive, if I would have woke up not able to move, I would have lost it.
Oh my God.
Like because of my level of like needing that and knowing, because that's so like important to my identity and like being a person. I want people to like be able to have that awareness, right? And it goes back to what you were saying, like, right, you don't think about the like, why is just being like this, sitting at a desk, like, why is my body mad at me for that? But like there's so much understanding, and like you're like, oh my God, I can't imagine. Like, does it bother you when someone goes like this to your shoulders?
Oh no, I love it.
Is this your shoulders? Okay, good. So like do that. Go get more, like make your husband massage your shoulders.
Oh, we've gotten a massaging machine.
Love it. That's amazing.
Oh no, like
use it a lot.
Oh yeah, no, I like consistently had started going to my chiropractor, and then I consistently, because I started feeling this thing like at the base of my neck right here, where it just felt like it was tight and tense and
stress.
Well, yeah. So apparently, I'm the kind of person that holds stress in like my neck, my shoulders.
Same. It's right here. I can feel it right now.
That is the human embodiment. This is why okay. So I 100%, I get stress is like a mental, when someone says you're stressed, they like totally related to like your mental health. But your body, our bodies are not designed to be able to handle God knows what level of stress you are experiencing on a daily basis. Our bodies are not designed to do that. We hold all of that. And it's like for most people, because our spines are like the part of our body that are constantly working, our spine and like all of the muscles that help to like keep ourselves upright are the muscles that take on 90% of like our physical manifestation of stress. So like,
oh yeah, no, I spent a long time then, like, I just started going to a chiropractor more often. I started getting massages, and it was funny because before I'd ever gone to a chiropractor, I went to a massage therapist, and they would always find like this one part of my shoulders or my back, and they're like right around the shoulder blades, and they're like, what did you do?
Under here?
Yeah. And they're like, and I could feel their fingers, like what they were, and they're like, it's not like soft, like it's just like a knot.
It's a ball. It's just like,
it's like a ball of stress. And then when I went to my chiropractor, she's just like, we're gonna have to take a couple of sessions just to unknot this.
Oh,
like that's it.
Can I tell you? Okay, so these are the things that I wanted to figure out why does that happen, right? Like, and it's not just stress. So I'm gonna sidebar for a hot second. Our bodies want to be this way, right?
Yeah.
Like they don't want to be, they're not really engineered very well to be able to be that way, but that's just like the way we've developed.
Yeah.
And when we're sitting for lengthened periods of time, our like our seat, our pelvis, our glutes, like all the muscles in our pelvis are the ones that are really designed to be able to help us like carry the weight and handle the movements and things like that. The muscles like in our spine that support our spine and in through our torso aren't necessarily like well equipped to be able to handle like the constant pressure of like supporting our whole body when we're sitting like this for lengthy periods of time. And then when you add on top of it, like being on a computer and just like fatiguing in your back, the muscles in between, and that's why I asked you about like that spot in between your shoulder blades.
Yeah.
We tend to do this.
Yeah.
And like we have all of these muscles that sit in between our shoulder blades and like across the center of our back that are getting overstretched when we're in this position. And then they lose, like, very simple terms. They lose strength.
Yeah, you're in front of two business majors. Very small.
It's funny because I could explain this to like 7-year-olds.
Thanks
like,
for that.
No, it's not you guys.
It's, like,
it's not you guys. It's my brain like getting too excited and like taking it out of the realms of dance. But so we're like this all the time, right? And then you add on like the stress of you going like this on top of it.
I know. That's making me cringe right now.
That's me. And, like, that's all me.
Your trap, and this is most people, like your trapezius muscle runs from here to your shoulder and then into like the lower portion of your back by where your ribs are. So like, did she tell you what rib you dislocated?
She said it was the most, like almost one of the most most ones here. Or like the second bottom one or something. And I'm just
bringing her freaking body.
I'm looking at the picture because I'm trying to see if I can show it to you, but that picture doesn't do it right. Like, have a good
not the bottom one. I feel like the bottom is like too low. Not
like in this area. Like,
just right there. I literally, oh god, it was literally like, I can't even. I'm just whatever. The point is, it's just like it's like kind of like midway from my arm, like kind of, or like near my elbow back. It's just I'm like everything is just keeps snapping back every time I try to move it.
So your like that trapezius muscle probably got so tight because of all of this that it really probably went here, right?
Yep, that's basically. And she said I have to like she like had to push it back into place.
Oh my god.
So like, I didn't hear anything.
Of course, but
but you feel it.
Oh yeah, it was so good. Oh, I'm just like, please. I'm like, please, just be gentle. Please be gentle. And I'm just like, I already have muscle relaxer, and she's just like, you.
Oh, those things are. Like prescription drugs, but like muscle relaxers.
No,
all the injuries I've had.
You're just like,
I'm not mad at it at all. Like, when my husband was driving me, when Bilal was driving, I hate saying my husband. I'm just gonna say his name.
Say Bilal.
His name's Bilal. I hate saying my husband. I feel so.
I know, you never really do. I'm like, ew, Bilal.
Yeah, it's weird. It's Bilal. It's a Bilal.
Yeah.
You
guys are bros.
To like the literally. When he was like driving me to the Med Express, I was like, you need to go at like 1 mile an hour because even like the wind blowing just like made my entire body hurt. And it was, I've never, I've had kidney stones and like this was really bad. This was so bad. And I was just like, whatever you gotta do, like morphine me up. Like, this is not the life I want to live.
I can't even. But that's the why. That's why.
Yeah,
that's the information I like to give. Like the information of like, this is what you're dealing with. This is why. Yeah. But like all of this everything like in between your shoulder blades gets super overstretched. So when you probably went to go back up and started walking again, and this had to activate, everything probably went.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Went boop.
Yeah, and then my body was just like, you're just going to get the punishment for what you've been doing to me for the last couple of months.
I'm going to super dive into me being my nerdy self and want to make sure that you're being taken care of. Did you go to like any like physical, I'm not like a huge proponent to physical therapy either because I think that serves a very specific purpose outside of like the realms of medical practice. But like, were you able to get any other support?
So I didn't do it out. I just kept going to my chiropractor because she's had amazing reviews. And like when I went to her for my like migraines, headaches, and my sleep problems because of my neck and like literally at the base of my skull, like just this like weird pain and tightness, like I would go, nothing helped me like she did after 2 sessions. So awesome. I just continued going to her and I've never had that pain ever again.
Good.
And I haven't gone for a while, but now I can start feeling like my neck kind of doing its thing again. And I'm like, I'm just going to go back to her because she was amazing.
Yeah.
But I was going to her for like 3 months.
The difference, I always like to, I'm like working right now. I'm like turning into my working aspect because I want you to feel good and I want anything to happen to you again.
No, I love it.
Lord.
The best thing that you can incorporate, and like I guess I can give you my personal perspective on this too. I used to experience low back pain like all the time. Like could never get it. And I hadn't, now mind you, I was like 13. I had no idea literally what was going on in my body or how I was damaging myself.
Well, you've been dancing since you were like 4.
Yeah, it's really long. And I started going to the chiropractor, and I used to feel amazing in the chiropractor. Like, I'd feel the release, everything would crack, I'd get up and I'd be like, ooh, I can move. And then like 20 minutes outside of the chiropractor, I was in pain again.
That's so interesting, because that's what I thought was going to happen with my chiropractor, but she's actually not what we see on YouTube.
Well, just based on what you said.
That shit scares me. Can I just say that anything about like, I'm too afraid. Like,
really?
The whole cracking thing just makes me feel
it feels like a dream.
So good. But we'll get into like what the chiropractor is really supposed to
Well,
be.
we'll quickly just do this. Yeah.
But so that's the fact that you said that she was talking about this and addressing like this area already like win. But chiropractors like specifically focus on like the alignment of your bones. Like that's their area. So like all of that like cracking and everything that a lot of chiropractors like focus on, that's great. They help to reset the placement of your bones. But if you're dysfunctional in like your mechanics and the way that your muscles are working, like, and that was me, the second you go back to function, like trying to function dysfunctionally, you're going to be in pain again. So if like your chiropractor is able to address like the actual issue, then she's helping you. You're getting a little more like a physical therapy on top of making sure that you're staying in alignment. I wasn't really getting that, and I didn't know any better, and I didn't know how to support myself. So I was always in pain, and it wasn't until I addressed like my actual like dysfunction that I started to experience things. And that's why I do everything that I do now. Like I focus on functionality in terms of like specifically your alignment, like your bones need to be in the right spot, and then you need to be able to keep them there by having your muscles function properly on top of that. But I'm very happy that you were able to get relief. That's amazing.
No, exactly what you said. Like I remember when I was going in, I was just like, oh, I'm going to get cracked all over and feel like amazing. Cause you see these like full body adjustments in like YouTube.
I can't watch those.
I get that. And she actually said, she's like, I could hurt you more by just trying to keep cracking.
Yes.
And she goes,
I love her.
And she's amazing. I actually tried a different one because so this one, we changed our insurance and she was like no longer in our insurance. So we tried a new one, and she just did like a day later, I'm just feeling the same way again. And so I'm going to go back to the other one, but she really spent a lot of time like with her hands adjusting and moving the muscles and making them do the thing again. And she like, even like up here, she would like start here and kind of go down like between the shoulder blades and like literally like knead with her fingers out the muscles. And
maybe
it's
I should go to her.
It's such a good hurt.
Dude, I want to go to her.
I'm telling you, like,
I want to go to her.
This woman has amazing reviews, and she truly like takes the time to
that's beautiful
make sure everything works. And the pain that I had for like a year, I've never had again after my 3 or 4 sessions with her after that
that's
one
incredible
time. And I know the cracking
addressing the dysfunction.
Really
that's beautiful.
Yeah. I know the cracking seems scary, but it's really like it's not painful at all.
No,
like
it's not meant to be. It's just movement. Like if it is painful, then you're dealing with something else.
Yeah, but she's amazing. Like she's like, I'm not gonna, even in our very first session, she didn't crack me at all. She just did like the manipulation of like, she just went through the whole body and checked everything. And then she focused on the back, which was a problem. Where she's like, I'm not going to focus on areas that you're saying are not a problem right now. Like we'll deal with those, but she's like, I don't want to cause you more pain for like the next 3-4 days when you walk out, because that's like a way your body's going to heal. Like, I'm just going to do what I need to do right now. So so I went to her for a couple of weeks, and the first time it was just muscle movement. The second time she used like the patches that have like the
electrostim. Yep.
Yeah. She used that. She used another machine, which apparently it's like a heat thing on the very top. And she just like goes into the muscle, and it just like,
she did like carving.
I don't know what it's called. No, not the carving. It's like literally this like gun machine thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's like she holds the handle. It's like this big thing that it almost looks like a blow dryer, and at the very end there's like a little.
Did it like?
No, not even. It did nothing except she put a little bit of like the ultrasound jelly or whatever on me, and just for the sake of like the slip. And the very front of it has heat and something else on it, like I think electrical stimulations. And she just like goes in that area that you have the knot, and
that's what I need.
Yeah.
Dude, it's so good.
No, because
she said it opens up like
Oh,
the
I
knot,
love
and it
this.
helps the
So
muscles to just relax and
My
move.
shoulder. Have you noticed me going
That's-
like this to my shoulders past half
that's
hour?
why
Because like,
I love her. You have to send her information.
Oh, I'll
But
send
that's
you all of
why
her
you get
information.
knots. Your muscles get knots because they're literally traumatized.
Yeah.
Like
That's a really good way of putting it, actually.
Like that's
That's
why you
nice.
get knots.
I'm
That's why
glad.
we get this.
I'm glad physically I'm
Ah.
traumatized.
I love her.
You're like, it's almost just like my heart and my mind weren't already traumatized.
Now
And
my
this is-
shoulders.
Let's add another
this
one to the
is
mix.
This is like the danger of knowing, right?
Yeah,
like,
of course.
Because I
Danger of knowledge of anything. Like once you know more about what's happening, you're just like, why did I?
Hyper aware of everything.
Yeah.
Why?
There's a reason ignorance is bliss.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Welcome to living and knowing your body. Welcome.
Yeah,
You guys have to go
self-awareness.
to this woman, honestly.
Yeah, I
like
love her.
even
That's
I've
amazing.
even gone to her when I was fine, and she still just made me feel like I could have deeper sleep, and like I just feel way better after being with her. Like I can right now, even as I'm sitting, I can feel like the muscles that have been tense for the last couple of weeks, and I haven't gone to her. And I'm like, I'm just gonna like bite the bullet, spend the extra money, and go to her because the insurance doesn't cover it, and just like get the treatment that she does, because she really, really cares about like
Yeah.
a long-term well-being. And she's, even till this day, I've been seeing her for ages now, almost a year, like on and off, and she still hasn't cracked my whole body.
Nice.
I love her.
That
But, like,
means
she's like,
she's
I'm just
doing your
gonna
job
do the
well.
thing that's necessary, and if something
Yeah.
else like has a problem, we'll deal with it then. But like, Maria, I think it's kind of like, I remember even with you when it came to like therapy, it's like you were finally ready when you wanted to go. And
Bro.
I know it was terrifying. Like I told you, the moment they closed the door, right? I told you, there's just like a thing about like, even when you go to a chiropractor, like the moment they do that first crack is when you realize I'm hooked.
Oh, yeah.
Like I know it seems scary, but it's a lot less scary than therapy. I promise.
I'm also
Yeah, for
also
real
just-
though. You don't do any therapy. You literally do all the work. When you go to see a
Yeah.
doctor, you don't do any of the work.
But
Yeah.
also, you guys, I'm so lazy.
So that is the core of the problem.
Oh yeah.
Let's be real here.
I mean, the reality of it is though, it's not even that you're lazy. It's like you don't know. Right?
Oh, yeah.
You know what it looks like to be on the other side of it, and until
Right.
like you were able to tap into that and see like the benefits for it, you would obviously. It's not like you're lazy and you don't care about yourself. Like you obviously want to feel good. It's just like you don't have the concept of like being able to say, I don't know what I feel like. I don't know what this feels like. You don't
Yeah.
know until you know.
I'm so glad.
You have to
So
just
that's-
bite your
so
tongue.
glad that this just turned into a therapy session for me.
We're biting. now it's on Maria.
No, it's so interesting that we like discuss all this humanness stuff, because I'm taking a really cool course right now, and honestly, it's really good just for anybody, in my opinion. Like one of her videos, which I feel like everyone should take, she just talks about like the core of like why she's like, there's this thing called a golden circle of like why you do what you do is in the center. Then it's like the what you do,
Golden circle. Yes.
and then that you do. So this is like the first time I'm hearing of it.
How
I'm
you
like,
do it? Yeah.
And so she was discussing, she's like, people don't buy, like, obviously this is like centered towards the business. So she's like, people don't buy into what you do, which is like the photography. People buy into why you do it.
Oh
Yeah.
It's the center of marketing, actually.
Yeah, exactly. And so and it was so interesting because it's like a full workbook too. So I'm like working through the workbook, and she asks all these like really crazy questions, and she gives all these examples. And
You must be
more I
living.
researched
You
myself,
love
I was
workbooks.
I was like, I am not in the right industry. Like with finance, I'm like, I'm not in the right industry with finance at all. And like, as I'm pivoting my business, I'm like, Maria's seen this multiple times. Anytime I see raw emotions, like,
Forget it.
yeah, like for me, the most
emotions.
beautiful thing on this planet, the most beautiful thing is raw human emotion, whether it's sadness or happiness. Like if someone's really happy, I'm going to cry with you. Like you might be happy, but I'm going to start crying.
You're so soft. Yeah.
If you're, the thing is, it's just like, to me, it's like the most amazing. Like when my sister was graduating and I saw my mom being proud, I'm just sitting in the corner crying.
Yeah,
When like,
Sorry.
it's not like
it's
I'm
so,
literally there with you, and I it's not. I don't think it's a level of softness. I just think of like that's.
I think it's like an empathy thing.
Yeah.
Oh totally. Oh yeah. Like that was another thing my therapist told me within like our first session. She was like, so you are totally an empath, and it's if you don't figure out how to control it, it's gonna be your demise. I was like, oh
Yeah. No, I'm with you. So like that's the thing that I'm just like, the thing is I love it because I feel like photography, it seems like it's like, I think sometimes people just think like a lot of these small businesses, like especially art, is just like what it is on the surface. And I'm like, art isn't like what it is on the surface. There's such a deeper we're not who we are without art. Whether it's an emotional art or a physical art or a verbal art, like we're not who we are without it. And so even with photos, like there's a lot of really great photographers and there's some that I like adore, but a lot of photographers I've seen just like take a photo and they move on, and I'm like, what you really should be doing is helping whether it's like a family session or a couple or a wedding, like what you really should be doing is making that moment more special for them. So like you shouldn't be telling them like, put your hand here, do this. Like you should tell them like, just do you, and I'll help you kind of create a beautiful moment with you. Like, why are you making, like, it's not about being fake. Like, it's really about, like, at the end of the day, art is, again, humanness, and how do you bring the humanness out in all of that you do?
Yeah, and that is literally what this podcast is about. So this is a perfect way to circumvent.
Circle everything back together.
Shabih, I love you.
What a delight for my friends to meet each other.
Thank you, Maria, for allowing your worlds to merge.
For like the first time.
I love this.
And it's also very entertaining to me that like I feel less crazy about like being like, why has she chosen to be my friend all these years? Because like I am just like so there. Because like we are so very different. For all the ways that we are very similar, we are so very different. But,
that's what all my friends know.
Yeah, but it's like meeting Shabih makes me realize like, hey, okay, like Mary and I are friends, and this is like it's okay, like it's fine. Like she actually likes people that are out there. We're out there. It's cool.
I know great people.
You do know great people.
Yeah. I know you guys are great.
Great people, like great minds think alike, right?
Correct.
I love this. Yeah, I was like, when Maria was telling me about this, I was in my head, I was just like, all I know how to do is like dress up and try to be proper for like interviews and stuff. And I'm just like, I'm gonna have to like try to figure out what I'm gonna wear and make sure it doesn't seem weird. No, I know. Listen, I know. This is not a you. It's like a me problem, right? Like this is not like a you thing. But when Maria was like, it's gonna be really chill, and she's like, we're just gonna, the moment you said tangents, I'm like, done.
Yeah, like this is so
moment.
This is literally what me and Brittany do, not even filming. Like, this is just how we are.
This has been the way our lives have worked on, like, a weekly basis since we were, like, in middle school.
4th grade, since we were friends.
It's kind of like what I always equate people to, like, late night car chats. Like, when you're sitting in the car, and, like, that's exactly what this felt like.
Good. Yeah. I'm glad.
That's good.
I love them. That's, like, my favorite. So this was amazing.
That's, like, our marketing right there. Can we just, like... make that everywhere on our
This
site.
Is your 2 a.m. You just got home. And the funniest thing too is like Maria and I, these conversations were always ours. Like we never did this in public. Like we never like were like going out and like this is what we did together. Like
I mean, you should be do that. Yeah, that's why.
Really,
but that's why I brought in Shabih too, because it's like I do this on
Yeah,
I love the energy. I feel like this is the way to have a conversation, especially when you meet someone for the first time. I don't know, like, I'm just like I said, I'm not a small talk person. I just really am not. I'm just like,
you're not.
Get into the bread and butter of things. Like,
we're not doing that. You both aren't. That's why I figured this would work perfectly.
Well, we definitely have to have you on more.
Yeah, I would love
to.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Oh, and tell people how they can, well, if you want, plug your business, totally. Tell people how they can find you, how they can work with you. Talk about that.
And I'll put it in the description too, so don't worry. Yeah,
so I'll send you everything. But yeah, just my first name, last name. So it's Shabih Aftab Photography. So I'll send you all the information. But like don't be surprised if my site's under like weird construction soon because
you're rebranding.
It's cool.
It's okay.
I know what that's like. It's not fun. You gotta do what you gotta do.
No, I love it. I actually really love it. I'm excited for it. But yeah, I'll send you all the information and everything. And I'm really glad that I did this. I'm really
I'm so happy.
It's so nice to meet you too. So I'm so glad I finally got to meet you.
Yeah, same here.
Okay.
All right, well, thank you.
Thank you, everybody. So awkward.
Thank you, everybody. This wasn't that bad for you, Maria. You're fine.
No, thank God.
You ripped the Band-Aid off.
Yeah.
But thank you, everybody, for joining us on this episode of the Be More podcast. We will see you guys very soon.
Goodbye.
Goodbye. It was nice to meet you, Shabih.
Nice to meet you. I'll
Talk
see you
with
guys.
everything.